Time keeps on leaving and we keep on moving. When do we pass on our wisdom to the youth? My veteran story, lost arts discussions, fireside chats with a bourbon or two. It's time to hear the stories by our military veterans. Get yourself ready, it's the Lost Arts Podcast. The Lost Arts with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast that's given a voice to our veterans. On today's episode, we will have a My Veteran Story with Navy veteran Doug Cooper. But before we get started with the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? Then consider becoming a TLA patron. That's the Lost Arts Patron. It is through donations that we are able to continue recording the podcast and getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Just go to the Lost Art website and click on the Become a Patron link at the top. If becoming a TLA patron doesn't work for you and you would rather give a one-time donation, then go to the Lost Art website and scroll down until you see the donation link. Any donation is appreciated. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast and tell your veteran story, then email me at thelostartwithandrewcox@gmail.com. All right. I'm back here with a My Veteran Story, and today we got Doug Cooper with us. Doug, how you doing out there?
I'm really good, AJ. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Doug, you're a retired Master Chief, and you worked in the submarines doing that. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I've done 26 years. That's correct.
26 years. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's kind of start at the beginning. Go back. What kind of prompted you to want to join the Navy?
Well, it actually kind of came about by accident. So I was actually born in Michigan, and there's a background in here because I think it sort of does come into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think my parents split up when I was probably about 3 months old.
Okay.
And I had two older brothers and an older sister, so there were 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
And odd in those times, of course, but we did not end up with my mother.
Oh, wow.
So I basically had grandparents, aunts, uncles, and a little bit of my father raising the 4 of us. And it was pretty much whoever could take care of us at the time, be it 1, 2, 3, or 4 of us.
Right.
So probably until I was 6 or so. And then my father remarried and so I had a stepmom. And so at that point, finally, all 4 of us were together and
right.
with a stepmom. And frankly, that didn't go well. Let's just say that did not go well. So like, needless to say, I was 10 years old when I was, and we knew my grandparents and we knew all the family, but there was a large family on both sides.
Right.
And we knew all of them except to this point, I had never met my mother. She was not in the area. This was in Michigan, central Michigan area.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point with my maternal grandparents, the 4 of us were going on vacation and we were going to Arizona. We were going to meet our mother for vacation for the summer.
Right.
Well, that was what we were told. The actual story was that my father was shipping us away because of my stepmother type thing. So
yeah,
we went from one bad situation, frankly, into a worse situation.
No.
It really is kind of what makes you who you are, I guess.
Well,
so
yeah, true. Yeah.
It's all good. Ended up with a stepfather that was extremely abusive and those kind of things. And that's when I met my stepsister, who was actually not that man's daughter either, but that's a long story. So there was basically 5 of us kids. And again, to get where I was at, my oldest sister made it through high school and graduated and moved out and done all those wonderful things that you do. Mind you, she's 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
So, and then the brother who was just under that, actually, he went to his high school graduation, 17 years old, and never came home. So he left at that point. The brother just above me at turned 18 December of his senior year and moved out the day he turned 18.
Oh,
So
wow.
that left me and my my younger sister there. She's 3 years younger than me in this situation, which wasn't good.
Right.
So there I was 6 weeks from the end of my junior year of high school. Things got really bad one night and I left.
Okay.
So basically I was a runaway, and I went and got help from my brothers and sisters who were in the area, sort of still close by. And, I got shipped back to Michigan. Well, I spent some time in Child Protection Services, and then I got shipped back to my father in Michigan. That's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to finish my high school. So I got my oldest brother, I'm 16. He's 19, and he ended up with legal custody of me. He's newly married, 19, with his pregnant wife, and he's got custody of his 16-year-old brother.
Yeah.
So that was a situation. And mind you, my 18-year-old brother also lived with him. So picture yourself at 19, newlywed with a pregnant wife, and your two brothers living with you in a very small house. But we made it work. So I finished my senior year of high school. I tried out college for a short while with, trying to get some grants and some, student loans type thing. And it worked out for a short while, but frankly, I didn't have the maturity and all that. So I quit that and repaid my student loans. Thank you very much.
Nice.
So there I was. I went back to that little town, and I got 2 jobs, and I'm working 2 jobs, and finally got my own tiny little apartment, and the job I was in, this is how I get to where I was at. The job I was in, I was basically a custodian. I'd done all the maintenance and cleaning work for it was like a garment factory.
Okay.
So, and that's all I'm doing. And I had a lot of fun there. But then the job opened up in accounts receivable. And I'm like, I've got a pretty good accounting background. I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm going to get into this job. So I did. But mind you, this is 1979.
Okay.
So computers were a new thing in the world. Well, our business was corporate owned, and our major headquarters were in Los Angeles. They brought in some computer systems. They're going to teach me and the girl that worked at accounts payable how to operate this computer.
Okay.
So they did. They brought a guy over. He's teaching us things, and we're watching him teach the boss other stuff. Well, as soon as he leaves, of course, we're both going, how did he do that? We want to see the things he done. Let's see if we can figure this out. So needless to say, 2 days later, we crashed the entire system, including the Los Angeles branch grid system. So that was how I decided, I want to learn this. This is going to be the future. I want to learn computers.
Right.
So I actually contacted a Navy recruiter, and went in and took my tests. And of course, somehow I done really well. And they started pushing, you need to be in the Navy's nuclear power program. You need to be in the nuclear power program. Your scores are high enough. And so, of course, that sounds really cool. They can preach a really good line. And so, sure, that sounds cool. I'm going to do nuclear power. So that's how I ended up in the Navy. And I wanted to do computers. That was the whole deal. And I ended up nuclear engineering and submarines.
Wow.
But I have to say it was probably more what I was adapted for. I'm not a computer guy even to this day. This stuff challenges me.
I can understand that.
But engineering, that's how I ended up in the Navy, and I went and I volunteered for submarines, and I would not change that, I think. So it was awesome. It's a different life. It's a lot of people think differently, because they don't know, and there's a good reason they don't know. Because that's what we do. But I loved it. So I went to boot camp in San Diego. So you were a Marine, correct? So I don't know where you went to boot camp.
I went to San Diego.
Yeah, right across the fence from the Marines.
That's right. Yeah.
Obviously, Navy boot camp was not Marine boot camp. Maybe we laughed at the guys over there because they were working a whole lot harder than we were.
Yeah.
So I went there, and again, you've been through that. So everybody goes through boot camp, and some find it more challenging than others for whatever reason. Physically, I wasn't, the most fit guy or anything, but structure wise and that atmosphere kind of maybe even at that stage, the family atmosphere was good for me.
Yeah.
Was that's, it's something, like you belong somewhere finally type thing. So I've done well in boot camp. I enjoyed boot camp. Actually, I this is easy. I like this. I just do what they say. This is not a problem.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. Went to boot camp, and of course you come boot camp graduation, all these families are coming over and everybody's excited to see their family. And of course, I don't have anybody there.
Yeah.
So but you kind of adapt other families, and other relevants will adopt you and take you out. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So that was in,
and what
79.
year was that? 79?
Actually, no. Cause then I went from San Diego to Great Lakes, Illinois, up by Chicago for my, A schooling, and it's basic. Here's how you operate tools, which is kind of fun. I will never forget the name of the course: Tools and Their Uses. Literally telling you how to use a screwdriver and a hammer. Yeah, that was actually a Navy course. That's how bad things were.
They were breaking it down, huh?
Oh yeah, this is the hammer. This is a screwdriver. Yeah, it's pretty funny. You're just looking, going, people are failing this course.
Yeah, no kidding. And how long was that course?
That was, I think it was like 6 weeks, all the different schools. And then, there was a couple of schools I had to go to. Some of them were self-paced in those days. So I think I was there, and I actually ended up, while I was waiting for my nuclear power school to start, they class you up in those. So they're only going to start at certain times, like twice a year. Right. I don't know how often it was. So, I finished my A schooling earlier. So I got picked up on what they called it staff duty. Basically you're helping do the grunt work, and the actual instructors, take the time off. But it was a lot of fun. Hung out in Great Lakes for a while, and that's when I got introduced to things that, I never thought were in the Navy. Young sailor things in those days. You're going, hold on, this isn't in the rules, is it? You're not supposed to be doing this. But fortunately I kind of kept my nose clean, and I went off to nuclear power school, which, let me tell you, nuclear power school it was in Orlando, Florida at the time.
Oh, okay.
So here I'd gone from San Diego to base Chicago. And then, and basically in a space of almost a year, I went for those 3 spaces, and I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Those are big changes.
Big changes for a little country boy who, the small town I grew up in literally had 2 stoplights. There was 2 stoplights in that town. Yeah. So I'm a small town kid. We had a high school that was a union high school, which basically we had like the entire county area around us almost. So all these different schools came in, and still you only had, my graduating class was like 150 or something, so it wasn't a big place. So I'm thrown into all this stuff, and it's exciting and new to me, and and I'm having a good time. Nuclear power school, I went out and which to me was a struggle. And the way nuclear power school did run, and I'm sure it's not much different now. It's extreme. It's the Navy trying to throw a 4-year college education of engineering and physics and advanced math into about a 9-month or 6.5-month period.
Yeah.
And it's nonstop. For people who don't have that background, it's brutal. And I'm one of those. I'm like, I can learn hands-on, but I'm not a math whiz. So you would be in school from whatever it was, 8 a.m. until 4 p.m, but then they have study hours.
Yeah.
Well, study hours, I don't know if you've been through it, they're either voluntary or mandatory.
Yeah.
So
I've been on a couple of mandatory ones before, so I understand that.
I really didn't ever get mandatory because I was at voluntary like 40, which is like 40 extra hours a week that you have to log in. So they really couldn't give me mandatory because I'm already kind of I'm there, till midnight every night. And ours, you can't take any of the material home to study. It all has to be done in the school building because it's all nuclear power.
Yeah.
So Orlando, the rare times I could actually get off, like maybe on a Sunday for a little while. Usually I'd get maybe Sunday morning until about 4 p.m, then I'd be back in studying. So that was my time off for those 6 months. Was
So you
And
didn't get a lot of time in Orlando to go out and explore too much then.
no, and what the part I did, I probably didn't do well. Let's put it that way. The Saturday nights, and
Yeah.
I done some single sailor things. I ended up with a few shots that I
Yeah.
not proud of, but we had them because this was those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we've done, and it was all new to me, and I was young, and I had a car, so it wasn't a good car, but it was a car. Oh yeah, trust me, I remember because I had a fan. This is a car from Arizona. I'm from Arizona. My air conditioner in this car doesn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't use the fan because it's going to short the car out. Okay, fine, we're good with that. Well, you're in Orlando and you're in areas you shouldn't be in at 2 a.m, and you come out, it's a little bit foggy in there, so I got to run the fan.
Yeah.
Well, so you do what you're going to do, and you come back out to the car, and it's dead.
Oh,
well, you're in a part of town in Orlando that is not really very safe, so you have to call a tow truck. And I'm still a young kid. This tow truck driver shows up with a handgun on the dash of his truck.
Oh, wow.
Saying, you two don't look like you belong in this neighborhood. Because I was a friend, and I'm like, well, can you get me out of here? I remember standing in the back of the class for a while after I got those shots after that night. And I'm not sitting down right now because my butt hurts. So it was a good time. It was the kind of fun things we did in school, but we got through that, and I managed to graduate. We always used to call it, just 2.8 and survive. If you could get a 2.8 out of 4.0, you could pass the class. Well, I think I ended up with, a little higher than that. I think I ended up like a 3.0 grade point average, which is not stellar. But I got through, and then they send you off from nuclear power school. They send you to prototype training. So now you're going from the classroom to the actual reactor plant.
Yeah.
So, and, at the time, the Navy had 2 or 3 locations. I got sent to Idaho Falls, Idaho. So I'm in the middle of the desert in Idaho.
Okay.
So this is kind of fun. I'm traveling the world as far as I know. This is the world. A lot of new places. Had a lot of fun. I mean, again, you're working long hours, but you're actually hands on. And I've done much better when you put me hands on. If I'm in the plant, I can operate the plant. I'm a hands-on guy. Okay, I can do this. I can operate this reactor and all the engineering places that the steam room and the engine that goes with that.
Yeah.
So, and basically, obviously, the nuclear power thing, all it really is that's our source of power to drive our steam engines for to turn the propeller on the boat.
Right.
It really doesn't. It's past whatever gives their power source. The rest of it is all basically the same. It's a steam plant. Okay. So. That's that, but it's obviously you have to have the nuclear side because the Navy's very, very strict on our nuclear power. We have never had a nuclear accident or incident in the Navy, and we don't ever intend to because obviously, public sentiment and things. People would try to shut us down if that happened. So we are very, very strict, and sometimes people don't understand, and I'm sure I was right there with them when I was young, don't understand why it is as strict as it is.
Right.
And there's just there's no room. I mean, you can screw up, but your integrity, of course, is there is no room for an integrity issue whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's and I've carried that over into my life now. And so I still have, issues sometimes. I'll tell somebody, but one lie and you're done. Your integrity is gone. So that's just what it is. Mm-hmm. You can tell me you messed up all day long and okay, we get through that. We can train that. We can do what we need to do, but integrity, I can't train. So, so I went through nuclear power school and I went prototype school, graduated. Thank God I'm through nuclear power school finally. Okay. So mind you, I went in March 6th of 1980 is actually when I enlisted and went away, and I went to my first boat, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, in December, I think it was. I got my notes here. I think it was December of 1981. I finally made it to my boat. Is that true? Nope. January of 1982, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 full years basically I've been on almost, and before I actually get to my first submarine. Mm-hmm. And of course now I'm in Hawaii. They sent me to Hawaii. Oh my gosh!
So you literally traveling the world at this point.
I mean, and they used to say that back in the day that was it, wasn't it? The Navy said join the Navy
for adventure or whatever. Yeah.
So that's And I did. I went to, let me see here. Yeah, I ended up in Hawaii on the, what we call fast boats, the old nuclear submarines.
Okay.
The Aspro was the name of it, which is, everybody's going, what the heck is an Aspro?
Yeah.
Well, it's a little silvery fish. I can tell you that. It's a fish.
Oh, okay.
It's not a very impressive little fish, but it's a fish. Yeah. The 648. So nuclear fast boat, basically the fast boats that attack, the submarines.
Yeah.
Out of Pearl Harbor. It was that class of ship. They were basically roughly 300 feet long, so they're not very big. Well, to me, it was kind of big. And those are the ones where, some of the movies, I don't know if you've seen any submarine movies. A lot of them are totally bogus, of course. We laugh at them. But, when they start showing you, they got all this sleeping room. Well, I will tell you on the 648 class submarines, their crew berthing for the junior sailors were some areas were stacked 4 high.
Okay.
And mind you, the average sailor, and again, you didn't really have a lot of, fat guys running around or anything, but the average sailor, if you were in your bunk, well, I'm short, so that's helpful. I'm only, 5'7", so it's helpful. But the guys 6 foot and over, you're not laying completely straight out in your bunk because it's not long enough usually.
Oh, wow.
You have enough room in your bunk maybe to put a paperback book on your chest and try to read it.
Oh, God.
Then there's a rack above you. So we call them coffins. They're called coffins.
Yeah.
Because you're stacked. If in parts of the boat it's 4 high, parts it's only 3 high based on the curvature of the hull.
Right.
But, and mind you, the hallway between the passageway between you and the other set of bunks on the other side was maybe 2.5 feet at the most.
Oh my God.
So yeah, which, and you picture that during, a general quarters drill or something where everybody's out of the rack at one time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You're trying, it's crowded. It's a mess, but submarine world. And I don't know if you actually got to spend any time on a surface ship as a Marine, but
no, I never did.
Never would see. Well, totally different. Obviously, if you're on a surface ship, you still have day and night. You have a sun.
Mm-hmm.
And, submarine, we don't have that, obviously. There are no windows. There are no screen doors. There's none of that. We're in a big black tube under the water with no sense of time of day whatsoever. Basically, we would tell you that you judged what time of day it was by what meal they were serving on the mess decks. That's how you knew.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, whether they were serving, and they serve 4 meals a day. Because in the submarine we work, or at least we did in those days. I don't know what they're really doing now. I think there's some changes, but we worked 6-hour shifts. You were in a 3-section rotation, 6-hour shifts. So basically you had 18-hour days.
Right.
So you have your on watch period where you're operating your equipment, you're standing your watch, whatever your job was for 6 hours. The next 6 hours is where you were, that's in theory your allocated time to do, training, because obviously there's always training. There's always more qualifications to get.
Yeah.
Plus there's mandatory training, for like your division and your department. There's a lot of training, especially in the nuclear side of it. And then maintenance, of course, because there's always a lot of maintenance to keep these things running. So you have your maintenance, your training, if you wanted to do any kind of exercise and workout, which, we have ways to do that in submarines. And in your leisure, do your laundry, because there's nobody doing your laundry in a submarine. You do your own laundry.
Okay.
And all those kind of things. So you had 6 hours in theory, that was your time. And then in theory, 6 hours in the rack, and then you start your day again.
Right.
So now some of the junior sailors again would be what we'd call hot racking. And you may have heard the term. There's not enough bunks on the submarine that everybody gets one assigned. You have more people than you do have bunks.
Right.
So some of the very juniors, the E2s, E1s, maybe some of the E3s would hot rack. So somebody that stands the same watch as them and does the same job as they do, but is in a different section than them, they would share a rack. Basically one person gets out of it and the next person's getting in it.
which is where the hot rack comes from. It's already warm from somebody else in it.
Yep. That's called hot racking. That's right. So that's fortunately for me, I never had to do that, because once we get through all of our nuclear power school and all that, we usually come, and plus as a nuke, you have to sign on for that longer period of time. So rank comes a little bit faster for us.
Okay.
So I never had to do that, but yeah, you had those. That's how we worked. We worked 18-hour days. Now that's a theory. That's what you tell people. 18-hour days. I got my 6 on, 6 of whatever I want to do and need to do, and then 6 in the rack. Well, nobody tells you that when the engineering guys decide it's time to run, a fire drill on the ship or a flooding drill or, whatever other drill, those aren't, it's just my sleep time. I don't respond. No, these are all hands evolutions. Every one of them. Yeah. There is no sleep. So you can go 48 hours with no sleep, and if you hit it in the wrong rotation, or God forbid something really does go wrong, you're up. Everybody's up. Everybody responds. Wow. But trust me, the first time I went on a surface ship and I found that, that they're running a fire drill and I'm going, well, what do we do? Oh no, we don't do anything. It's not us. What do you mean? What do you mean? I go, what do you mean? On submarine, you literally do. When they talk about, you rely on the guy next to you literally, can control your life. But it's true. I mean, because there's, you think of a fire in an enclosed space where there's no air. It's a bad thing. Or flooding, obviously, there's everything. Everybody has a job. You knew if you were on watch, this is what you did. If you were the off-going section, you knew you're this hose team for the fire. You're this, you know exactly what your job is based on where you're at in the rotation. And we're all trained to that. So, and it's a long process because it takes typically almost a year to actually earn your dolphins, earn your submarine qualification.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. It's because you have to go through every system on the ship basically. And some of them you have to know. Any damage control you have to know completely. You have to know all of it. Wow. You know where every battle lantern on the ship is at. You have to know you have to know everything because if the lights go out, it's dark. Yeah. It's really dark. Yeah. And then of course the other systems in the ship. Like for me, I don't have to know sonar systems or something enough to operate them, but I have to know them. I have to know weapon systems, but I don't operate them. Just like the forward guys that we always call them forward and aft. You always said the forward and aft guys. The aft were the engineering because that's where anything where the nuclear reactor's at and beyond is engineering. Okay. Everything up forward. So it's a game. It's just like brothers and sisters, They can fight and argue. Well, we have our little sisters up front, as we like to call them, the coners. Nice. And then the engineering guys in the back. Yeah. But that's, it was all a good battle, but it's, you had to know all the systems. So earning dolphins, when somebody says they have their dolphins, which is their submarine, warfare insignia. Yeah. It's a big deal. Yeah, it is a big deal because it's a very long qualification process. You have to go through every system on the boat, all the checkouts. You have to actually do certain evolutions, and then you go through a couple of interview boards, and you're getting tested on and quizzed on all this stuff. There's people asking you hard questions, and they're not easy. They because they know that you could be the guy that it makes or breaks the day. So they don't just sign these off, go, oh, you're a nice guy, I'll sign you off. No, because you could be the one that actually saves my life tomorrow. Uh-huh. So it's fun. And fortunately, and I would say all the time I was on board, there was never, we had a few, but I never really, I don't think felt too many times that I was in major danger. There were a few times. Yeah. But, we had a few incidents happen. I've had flooding but it's amazing how fast people react and just do it. And you don't have time to be afraid. You just do your job and okay, it's taken care of. If something fails and you realize why we train the way we train. Mm-hmm.
Just because it becomes second nature and then.
Yeah, you just do it. And you always, like we say, we always train the way it's going to be. This is just what you do. So my first boat I spent, where was I there? I got there in January of 82 and I left there in January 85. So I was 3 years. And those 3 years we had a good time. I got to do my first Westpac, which is when you're out of Hawaii, you're going over to the Western Pacific. So going to Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, we got to Australia. There's a few other ports. So yeah, you're traveling. I mean, you're all these different countries and just having and seeing things and trying to experience the culture a little bit.
Yeah. So
That's
you got port calls in all those
Oh yeah,
areas.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of port calls.
Okay.
Back in those days, we pulled in, and Australia was interesting because they all went on strike at the pier because they didn't want a nuclear submarine coming in. So
Oh, really?
it was, yeah. But oh yeah, we still had a good time. We got a couple of tours. It took us out on a tour bus to see some of the countryside, and
Oh,
we were
very
on.
cool.
We weren't in like Sydney or Perth or
Hmm.
something. No, we were in, and this is, again, early 80s. So we're in Darwin, which is the Northeast Territories. There was
Right. Yeah.
literally nothing in Darwin except a casino, a few residents, and the Aborigines, which were the natives.
Yeah.
And they would take us on this bus through some of these areas, and literally they're throwing rocks at our bus.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, it was kind of fun. But but you got to eat water buffalo, kangaroo.
Oh, very cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. And some people are like, I'm not eating that. I'm that guy who like, I'll try that. Yeah, you may have some of that. So we had, I loved it. We got to see countries and go places, but
Yeah.
I won't forget. I was probably, I'd only been in. Obviously, I was still in Hawaii at the time, so I'd gone. In those days, when I got to go and leave, I would go back to Arizona. Obviously, that's what I knew. I'd go back to the family. I was still a single sailor, and I'd go back. And so it'd been out a few years, and I go back and go to all the old friends I went to high school with, and we grew up in the desert, so.
Yeah.
We would go out to have these, everybody goes out to the party and has a desert party. That's what we do. When we were younger, it was maybe some illegal drinking, but in this age, no, we're old enough now. It's, mind you, when I went in, it was only 19 in Arizona to drink. So we're good.
Okay. Yeah.
You get out and we're out there, we got the bonfire going and people are sitting around, and these are all the people I went to high school with, and they're all talking about this great, and I'll never forget this. They're talking about this great party at the lake. Now, mind you, this is Arizona, so to get to a lake, they had to drive.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of lakes, but they had this great party at the lake, and all the things they had doing, and it was just sounded like they had a blast.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to this conversation go on for like a half an hour, 45 minutes, and I'm finally like, so this was like just a couple weeks ago or something. Oh no, we've done this. This was like what, 6, 7, 8 months ago, and I'm like, what? And I'm going, what? Okay, but then when I said, well, what have you been to? What have you been up to? And I'm like, and that's when I started telling them, well, I just came back from Australia and Hong Kong and Korea and Japan, and I'm telling them all these stories, all these different countries, and they're just looking at me. And I think that's when I realized that I would never go back there, because I realized that I had changed me. I'd seen the world, I'd done things, and there was jealousy on my side that I didn't have all those old friends still, but I could see it in a lot of their eyes that I'm seeing the world that they're not getting a chance to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I would, and I never have forgotten that night. I'm going, well, that's when I realized that, yeah, there's something to this. I like this. Okay. So, but I was getting ready to transfer out of there. So I got orders from Hawaii to a new construction submarine in Groton, Connecticut.
Okay.
So I was going to one of the big boats, one of the ballistic missile submarines. So I'm going from a 300-foot long submarine to about a 600-foot long submarine.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. The Trident submarines are huge. They're big.
I did not realize they were that big.
They're about 600 feet long, about 42 feet across.
Wow.
Yeah. There's 4 decks. In the middle of that thing, there's literally 4 levels.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. And it's a whole new world. But of course, we were building it. So new construction, you're not going to see, you're building the thing. Now I did, go through the building and we managed to commission it. And I did go on the first 2 patrols with it, but,
okay.
And then I transferred, but that was fun. We were in, so basically we, me and a couple other guys got a house that we rented down in the Stonington borough down up in Connecticut. So we're up there with the rich folk, the lobster guys and all that stuff. So it was a good time. Oh, yeah, it's great times. We loved it. I mean, fortunately we had the world's best landlord, and he was one of the largest lobster families in the area. So our parties always had fresh lobster.
Very nice.
So here we are as young sailors with, hi, you want a party? Oh yeah. We'd tell him we're having a party and we'd get buckets of fresh lobster delivered.
Wow.
So we loved living up there, had a good time. And then, of course, when the boat got commissioned on what had to be the absolute coldest day ever in Groton, Connecticut, Well, to be fitting, the boat's name was Alaska, so I guess it was the USS
well,
Alaska.
yeah, it
So
works.
it was fitting. Yeah. So it worked. So,
Oh,
but we and it got stationed in Bremerton, Washington. So when I say they kept moving me. I literally, like I say, I went from San Diego to Chicago to Orlando to Idaho and Hawaii, and now I'm over in Connecticut, and now I'm back to Washington State.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of travel in there. So we spent two patrols on that, and a ballistic missile submarine. The patrols are basically U-2 crews on one of those. The missile subs are a 2-crew submarine. You have the gold crew and the blue crew.
Okay.
Full crews, complete commands, everything from the commanding officer on down. It is completely different. So one of them will have it for 3 months, and then they come back in and they turn it over to the other crew. There's a big turnover process, all the paperwork and all that stuff. And then the other crew takes charge of the boat.
I see.
And then you do your little refits. Now, usually on refit periods where they're doing, maintenance works, both crews work together for a while, but that's those 3 months in are where you get your different trainings, and that's when you're allowed to take leaves and things, because the missile submarines or missions are totally different. Fast boats, we got a lot of ports, we pulled into places. But on a ballistic missile submarine, your job is what's keeping the world what it is today, really.
Yeah.
We have all these assets, and we have our carriers, and they're great and they're huge. But frankly, everybody can see a carrier and know where they're at. They got satellites and know exactly where that carrier's at.
Very true.
We call them targets. They got a lot of manpower and they got a lot of firepower, but they're targets because you can see them. The missile submarine, the ballistic missile submarines, our Trident subs are literally what, in my opinion, is keeping our world safe, because the enemy know how powerful they are, but they don't know where they are. And that's the key. They don't know where they are. And they're on patrol somewhere, and there's enough firepower on one Trident submarine that was used in the entire Second World War. So, and that's on one submarine. So they're powerful boats, and they are a deterrent force.
Yeah.
We always say if they ever fire one of the missiles at all, now they have other weapons, of course, they have tomahawks and things like that. There's other weapons, but if they ever actually fire a missile, a Trident missile, then basically we failed. Obviously, somewhere up there, all the politicians have failed if that missile goes off, because that's, it's nuclear or possibly nuclear. They're nuclear boats. I can say that.
You
now people will always
ask,
going
off. Yeah.
People will always ask you, well, how many weapons do you carry? Well, again, I was engineering. However, obviously we're trained. Yeah. You can easily see, if you see one on the surface, you can see there are 24 missile tubes. You can see the boat on the surface. You can count the top. You can see there's 24 missile tubes. Now, how many missiles are on board at any one time? Can't tell you that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I didn't even know. I could go to sea and I couldn't always tell you, do they have ballast in that tube, or is there a missile in that tube? Right. And if there's a missile in there, how many warheads are on it? Because each missile is capable of carrying, multiple warheads. I don't know. I did not have the need to know.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. So, and there were only a few on board that did know. So, the ones that needed to know, weaponeers and those kind of things. But then that missile boats that world's a whole lot different. You would say you're at sea, you're just poking holes in the ocean, as we call it. And you're out there doing your job and making sure that the world doesn't know where you are, but they know you're there somewhere.
And you said those are 3 month. So you're out to sea for 3 months.
Your deployments are typically less than that because you do a maintenance period and things.
Okay.
But basically, in theory, it's a 3 month. So it varies a little bit based on the maintenance schedules, and how much time they have to do, what they have to do. But it's usually about a 3 month patrol. Or it was in the day. Things change a lot.
But you're talking under the water. Once you get underway, you're underwater the whole time.
Pretty much. I mean, those can occasionally do a few things, but not much, because first of all, they're huge, and we're not going to pull, a Trident submarine into foreign ports, really. I mean, it's just the security issue of doing that. Our own ports here, where there's only 2 ports in the States that actually have Trident submarines. And, I'm living in one of them here. I mean, down here in South Kings Bay, Georgia, and then the other is Bremerton, Washington. And that's not a secret. That's where our Trident submarine bases are. Yeah. Now, obviously we have what we call a forward deploy maintenance facility that they can go to that's over in Guam or something. But those are really the only places they're moored and things. So they have specific, very unique, facilities for those. And that's why we pull them in. And even here, we've got entire Marine detachments here that's what their job is the security of that boat coming and going into the port. Because a submarine on the surface, coming into a harbor is, not a whole lot of, you don't have a whole lot of defense. This isn't the old boats where there's guns on topside. We don't have those. So the Marines, that's what they do. We have a Marine detachment. That's their job is the security. And I'm telling you what, all the boaters in this area, because, we live on the coast. It's a big fishing area.
Oh yeah.
And they all know very well when that submarine's on the surface, because everybody wants to see it, of course.
Yeah.
You get somebody new, there's a submarine, and they'll make the mistake of trying to get close. They don't get very close. They don't get very close. Now they will find that those Marines and those patrol boats are pretty the Marines and the Coast Guard. Of course, we have Coast Guard units too, but the Coasties have their units, and they don't get close. So it's pretty cool though. But they get the new guys on that. We seen a submarine, but then the Coast Guard told us to go away. I bet they did. They didn't ask either. So, but that was it.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Okay. Where was I at here? So, I went from, that was the Alaska. So I'd done my time on Alaska, and then, I'd been in nuclear power. Nuclear power is kind of stressful. It does its thing. So I decided I wanted to try something different. I started looking around through what was possible, what was available, and, in any billeting area. And so I made some phone calls, and I ended up getting orders to Southern European NATO headquarters.
Oh, okay.
Which, as a submariner and as a nuke, nobody can yet figure out how I'd done that, because I was definitely a unicorn. There was, submariners are not at the NATO headquarters in Southern Italy, and a nuclear power is like, what do you mean? What are you doing here? So, and my command master chief over there, she was one of the first female command master chiefs in the Navy, and she was absolutely fantastic. She was great, but she always told me I was an East Eggs, and she's like, you're not going to make chief, which making chief E7 in the Navy is a big deal. Because you're not going to make chief until you get back to your boat. You got to get, because you're having a great time and you love this, but you're being evaluated and ranked, and the selection board is looking at your job, and they're all going, "What's he doing? What? No." So of course, it was a 2-year billet, and I was loving life. And as soon as she went on leave, the master chief went on leave, I put in my request to, extend my tour overseas by a year. So I snuck that through while she was gone.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. She came back, and after a while, she said, "Well, you should be transferring soon, shouldn't you?" I'm like, "No, master chief, I got another year." She's like, "What?" "Oh yeah, I extended." Oh yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I snuck that in there, but she knew why. And we're still friends today. We still do Christmas cards. She doesn't live but 3 hours from here. So it's good. But, what had happened there was, that's where I met this lovely young Royal Navy, sailor.
Okay.
So, I met my wife. She obviously worked at a NATO base. So we have Americans, we have Italians, because it's in Italy. We have English Navy, we have Greeks, we have Turks and French. I think that's all that was working there. So a large, international pool there. So I met my wife through a friend. I worked with Air Force guy. Basically, my immediate boss was Air Force too. And the Air Force sergeant I worked with, good friends with him. And so that's how I met my wife, through him. And she worked at, obviously, the Brit facility there. She I always tell her she crashed a dinner party I was having. I was invited other people, and and then she came with a friend, and she crashed my party, and then basically didn't move out. So, but we had a good time. Oh yeah. So that was about 35 years ago. So and we've been married.
Did you say 45 years ago?
Oh, 35.
Oh, yeah. I was like, holy cow, 35 years ago.
Yeah, so we will actually celebrate our anniversary this month. It'll be 33 years this month. So,
wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations early on that one.
Yeah. We got together, and of course, we had living in Italy is, first of all, Naples, Italy back in the day is a very crowded, most people would come through and they're going to say it's very crowded, very dirty,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of crime. But that's just people who are just looking at the surface.
Yeah.
If you look past the surface of Naples, Italy, uh, you won't find a more genuine person in the world. The Neapolitans,
Mm-hmm.
once you make friends with them, they are your friend.
Yeah.
They will do anything for you. Is there crime? Well, there was crime, but the crime wasn't against, it wasn't violent crime against us. Yeah. Crime was basically to feed your families. It was one of those that the unemployment rate was, phenomenal over there. So yeah, if you had a car stereo and you didn't lock your car, guess what? Your car stereo is getting stolen.
Yeah.
Because they can sell it and make money.
Yeah,
that's the kind of crime there was. There was no, at least not against us. We didn't have the kind of money or thing they needed. There was no violent crime against Americans there.
Yeah.
But was it crowded and dirty? Well, yeah. Naples is a very crowded town. The houses are built up to the sidewalk, and the sidewalk is to the street. So you literally got front doors that are, 3 feet from the street. The big apartment buildings and, things like that. That's the downtown area. And I've never lived, in a major city in America, a big downtown, but it's a big downtown and it's extremely crowded. Yeah. Cars, unlike Americans, we sit out, we wash and wax our car, don't touch our car, that kind of thing. To them, a car is a transportation. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So your car's parked on the street, and the kids, and I say kids, teenagers, whatever, are in the street talking and having a good time with their friends. Will they be leaning on your car or sitting on your car? Probably, because it's just a car. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And they couldn't understand why the Americans get so upset about you're on my car. Like, yeah, okay, big deal. It's a car.
Yeah.
So, but I could have lived in the barracks there. I was a single sailor when I got there. I could have lived in the barracks, but I also had the option to not live in the barracks.
Right.
So the Air Force sergeant I worked with, he's one of those guys that, talks to everybody and knows everybody. And he was married, and matter of fact, he was married to a Navy sailor also, but, he told me he knows a guy, he'll find me an apartment. Because I was going through the Navy system, and the apartments they were showing me were like in those big buildings, and that's not what I'm looking for. I wanted just to be in a building. I want to be somewhere, and I told them, put me somewhere where there's older teenagers. I want to see the 17, 18, 19-year-olds because I want to learn the language. I want to get in the culture. So he found me a great place. I had an apartment, and it was the little Parco, the electric gates around it and everything. There's 4 apartments in the building, 4 good size apartments. Yeah. Basically the landlord and his wife and son and daughter, and the big one downstairs. The one above him was his oldest son and his wife who have been recently married, so they're upstairs. The other 2 apartments were for his other 2 children when they got married. So that's what it was. It's a family Parco. Yeah. Well, there's a doctor that lives downstairs because the other, the son's not, or the daughter's not married yet, so that's gonna be hers. And the apartment they had just finished rehabbing and making absolutely gorgeous was going to be the other son's. Well, mind you, I had granite and marble floors. My whole floors in my house were all granite and marble, not like tiles. They were slabs of granite and marble with heating coils run through them. I had granite countertop. Oh, my house was gorgeous. Everybody's like, how'd you get this? I had balconies, and people like, and my landlord was fantastic. He couldn't speak a word of English when I moved in, and I didn't know any Italian. We would literally communicate by drawing pictures.
I love it.
But they were fabulous people. And so obviously I started learning Italian and hanging out with the local teenagers and all those. And because, well, again, I had a car. It was kind of fun. So I lived there for a while, a few months, and I was going and trying to take college courses at night and things. So I'd come home late at night, and there's a little restaurant kind of back around the corner behind my house. I could see it from behind my house because I was up higher. I'd go around there at night about, 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I'm going to get me a pizza and, basically. And now, mind you, getting into pizza in those days cost me about 2,000 lira, which was about $1.20. And you get a pizza. It's like a Neapolitan pizza. It's not American style pizza. It's a plate sized pizza, but it's plenty of food, and they're delicious. They make it right there for you.
Wow.
So I'd go in and they were nice to me and all, they were Italians and I didn't know much. And the people weren't rude or anything. They were nice,
Yeah.
but I would just order my pizza and they didn't talk to you. They just give you pizza and you move on.
Yeah.
Well, that went on for, a while. And then one night I went over to get my pizza and a lot of these neighborhood kids that I hung out with during the days sometimes were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they all started talking to me and laughing and talking and just having a good time. And then we're back to the table and I'm watching the waiter go over to them. And obviously it was very clear they were talking about me.
Uh-huh.
So he was asking like, who is this guy? Basically, how do you know him type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard my landlord's name get mentioned. So I was like, it was interesting. I didn't go there and get ignored ever again.
Oh,
if
really?
I went there for a pizza. Oh no. I would go in for, I'd go back and order my pizza and it's like, and they're bringing you out a coffee and they're bringing you out this glass of wine and you're bringing out, like, and they're not charging you for any of this. So you're not,
wow.
You're not paying. And it took me quite some time to figure out it's because of who my landlord is.
Yeah.
He was the guy literally straight out of a movie where you see the little guy in his little cardigan sweater with his little walking stick,
right,
walking around through his grapevines and his tomato plants, sitting on his bench.
Yeah.
That was my landlord.
Wow.
That literally was him. And at the time, of course, I moved in. I didn't know all these details, but I learned them later because you see all the holidays and we lived on a dead end street. So you had to go up the street, turn around and I pulled back to park in front of the house because I rarely put my car inside the gates. So I just didn't want to deal with it. I'd park on the street. Well, any holiday, you'd see cars almost all day long going up, coming back, and they'd park in front of the house. They'd come in bearing gifts. And I'm like, man, he's got a lot of friends. That's okay. No, it was later you're finding out, no, it's where you're at and how high ranking you are is people visit you on the holidays and bring you gifts. Yeah, we're pretty much, we had jokes after that. Our landlord's pretty much the Godfather. It was great. It was great. I mean, they were just such good people, but it was, so again, I'm there for 2 years and, and when Joy, my wife, her name is Joy, when she decided she was going to move in with me, so basically the female British sailors were not allowed to live off base for security reasons. They had to live on base in housing, but they were allowed to house sit. So if they had some of the senior officers that are British that were going back to England for, 2 weeks or something, they could go and take care of their houses. So Joy was basically had me listed permanent as kind of like permanently house sitting at my house.
Okay.
So yeah, that was kind of it. So she sort of moved in and, mind you, this is the early 80s again, and this is a country that's very chauvinistic. And so there was the landlords were not rude about it, but you could tell they were questioning, why is this single woman, her virtues, why is she staying in this house with you?
Yeah.
This, it's kind of one of those, this isn't right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we went, and Joy and I went on vacation, went back to England.
Mm-hmm.
So I could meet her parents and I hadn't been to England. So we drove her car and we went to England and I came back and I'm trying to tell my landlord we were at her parents' house and we stayed with her parents. And okay, so things are a little better because obviously her parents know.
Yeah.
And then things are different. And then a few weeks later I said, hey, I told them her parents are going to come at Easter and visit. And I told them they'd stay at our house instead of at my house instead of getting a hotel. Well, now it's great because her parents, he gets to meet the parents. The parents are going to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you what, they have to come for Easter dinner. So I'm warning my soon-to-be or future mother-in-law. We were not engaged at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she wants, whatever, big breakfast. And I'm like, you don't want a big breakfast. You're going to be eating lunch down there at about 1. You don't need a big breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we fine. She's thinking English lunch.
Yeah.
No. Lunch started at 1. We were still eating at about 8:00 at night.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God, the courses, and it's real Italian meal. You're going to get it one course at a time, but it's not like take a plate away and put a plate in front of you. It's take a plate away and then you get wine and you drink and you talk and you do this. And then eventually another plate comes out. So it is like my landlord's house didn't have like a living room.
Mm-hmm.
They had a big kitchen and a huge dining room.
Yeah. And they sat around the table, and that's how they visited.
Yeah. Social life is around the table.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 hours. But fortunately, my father-in-law now, he's English, and obviously he went through the war and everything. But and so both of them, my landlord and my father-in-law, had been in World War II. So and my father-in-law could speak some Italian. So they just spent the whole night. I mean, it was like they were the best buds by the night. We're breaking out bottles of wine, homemade wine, of course, because we couldn't have store-bought wine in there because it would be very offensive to him. We had to drink his wine all the time. But when he starts going down and bringing out the bottle, that has like a 1/4-inch dust on it because it's that old.
Yeah.
Because this is he has to show the respect of this man in his house. So, oh dear Lord. But the Italians have a sneaky way though. I'm trying to tell you, every glass of wine he poured for us, he was pouring half a glass for him and filling his with the rest of it with water.
Oh, really?
So, oh yeah.
Okay. It makes sense.
Yeah. So it became good then because when we ended up, obviously the landlord knows that, the parents are good. We're all good. They understand that we're living together.
Right.
So this is not just a little, fling thing. But of course, literally, and we joke about this today with my wife. We tell people that when she moved in, it was one of those, okay, we're here on orders, 2 years from now, you're going back to England. I'm going back to the States. We'll remain friends, but that's it. This is just a 2-year, whatever. We're having a good time. That was our arrangement. Okay. And she will tell everybody to this day, I'm the one who broke that arrangement. So we like to travel. So we hadn't been somewhere, and I'm looking, we were in one of the travel office buildings. There's one on the base there. And I'm looking going, hey, what's that poster? It's Tunisia. That's North Africa. I've never been over there. So we decided, okay, let's go. So we took off for a week and went to Tunisia.
Very cool.
And that's where we got engaged. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's a good story with that. I got engaged one day, and I did, do the phone calls to her father and all that. So I planned it. But, so we're in Tunisia. We get engaged one day, and the next day we're going to go, and this is the early days of parasailing. Okay. On the boat. So there's these little Tunisian guys. They're going to take us, and hey, we'll take you through this.
Yeah.
Parasailing. There's 2 of them. Well, they're in one boat. Well, but the boat's small, so he can't take everybody on the boat. So my wife she's not my wife at the time, but my fiance is sitting on the beach on this big river with one of the guys, and the other guy has the boat and me in it. And I'm going to do this first.
Yeah.
So I'm floating around behind this big, parachute behind a boat. Yeah. Well, the boat dies.
Oh no.
So I'm thinking, I'm coming down.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to unstrap from this stupid parachute before it, kills me.
Yeah.
So I get in the water and swim to the boat. We pull the parachute in. And then the funny part is I'm not the world's strongest swimmer, but so there's my fiance sitting on the beach laughing. I can see her. She's way over there. I know she's laughing. And the guy's handing me the bow line for this boat. And whatever little bit of English he sees, I'm pretty clearly getting the message that he needs me to take this bow line and swim and tow the boat into the pier, into the beach.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I get to the beach. She's busted up laughing. I'm going, so we get engaged one day and I almost die the next day, and you're okay with this? So, yeah, they did offer, instead of giving me my money back, they did want to give me a camel ride instead.
Okay. All right.
That's a no. That's a big no for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a cool, big old no for me. The smelly, spitty, nasty animals. But, so that's what I call them. My wife says they are not. She had a pet camel when she was very young, and her father was Ministry of Defense, and she lived in Libya, and she had a pet baby camel, and she thought they were cute.
Oh, wow.
Like, you ride the dang camel. I am not riding a camel.
Yeah.
So that's how that's how I broke the pact, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
That's
so
really
that's
cool.
I mean, submarine wise, we obviously didn't do a whole lot there, because obviously I was working at a NATO headquarters and doing fun things. And I can tell you that still the highest medal that I earned my entire 26 years.
Yeah.
I got as an E6 on that base.
Really?
Oh yeah. I have a Defense Meritorious Service Medal.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of high. That was my mandatory award for that. But but I worked for I worked at the motor pool. So we had how would we have 23, 24, 1 and 2 star, admirals and generals that we took care of every day.
Yeah.
And we had 4 3-stars and 3 4-stars that we took care of every day. Mm-hmm. Well, there was a time we had the NATO ambassadors were having a conference over there.
Yeah.
So it's on us to supply all the transportation.
Right.
Well, I don't have that many cars of that class.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm out renting cars, and mind you, every major car rental agency in that area had a full copy of my driver's license, my military ID, and all my passport information on file. So all I had to do is call them and say, I need, X number of Class A cars, which would BMWs, Mercedes, and this type of car. So I had literally 35 cars rented in my name for that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Yeah. NATO's paying the bill, but they're all in my name.
Yeah.
So, but we had 15 ambassadors that were running around for this 6-day event. And in Naples, traffic is bad. Naples traffic is bad. But the deal is, and you got a Carabinieri, which is the top, Italian, basically it's a military, but it's a police force.
Okay.
The Carabinieri, nobody messes with the Carabinieri. Regular police maybe, but not the Carabinieri. So we have their escorts, and, we're going through all this. So every one of these 15 ambassadors has one of their basically home speaking, an officer that's going to be with them to act as a translator and to help to keep the schedule going. And then I have to put a driver in every one of these cars.
Right.
So I have to use my best drivers, and believe it or not, you actually have to train people how to drive an automatic transmission.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because this was Italy in the early days, and they were all manual transmissions. They didn't have automatics.
Yeah.
Most of these kids had never driven an automatic in their life. And you have to figure out that, no, please don't hit the brake with your left foot because you're going to put the automatic through this windshield. So, yeah. So we have 15 of them had to train how to drive these cars. And it was interesting because there's a rank status with those guys. I'm sure you've experienced a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're in a line of 15 cars, number 3 better not pass number 2.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we literally have numbers in front of in these windows. You stay in this order. But it's Naples traffic. If you give them a gap, somebody's going to drive in between you.
Yeah.
So basically they couldn't get no more than 5 feet between the cars anywhere they were going.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. It was exciting. So we have a Carabinieri in front with his light, and we have 15 of these cars. And then there's me in a 16th car behind them. Everywhere they went, I went. Yeah. Because if a car broke down, got in an accident, got a flat tire, the job was you take this car and I take that car and you keep going because you can't leave security-wise. You can't leave them on the side of the street.
Yeah.
So the whole process, and we're involved in all the protocol officers and all that. And mind you, I'm still just an E6, but I'm doing this all in civilian clothes because this is all civilian clothes thing. So I'm wearing these nice Italian linen suits and I'm having a good time. And so the last day, everything went perfect for the full 4 days. And we did not have a flaw, at least on our end. I don't know what they were doing. Not a flaw. The last day we're taking them back to the airport. They all had flown in on the Italian ambassador's plane. They were all flying out on the American ambassador's plane.
Okay.
It's now pouring rain. Early evening. It's dark. So we're pulling up to the airport. And of course the cars go straight onto the tarmac, pull up to the plane, in line, getting out, and unloading and getting into the plane. Well, car number 5 happens to be the American ambassador. And he's in a Mercedes. Pulls up and the entire electrical system of the car fails.
Oh, no.
Which was okay, except that the trunk wouldn't open and his briefcase is in the trunk.
Oh, man.
So I'm pulled to the side, of course, because I don't need to be in that line going out there. I'm pulled to the side and they're trying to figure out, I can see this commotion instantly. So I'm going out there. What's up? I can't get the trunk open.
Yeah.
The ambassador's very clearly going, this plane doesn't leave without that briefcase. Because whatever's in this, I'm like, well, crap. We can't get it open. The keys won't open. It's just failed. It won't open. And it's just a Mercedes. So I'm like, well, okay, fine. We'll rip the back seats out and we'll go into the trunk that way. No, we won't. Nope. It's a metal plate back there. You can't get behind the back seats.
Oh, no.
And mind you, it's pouring rain. So I'm in the suit. I'm soaked. And there's all these protocol officers. The 4-star admiral's wife is over there standing under an umbrella with the protocol officer, and all these people are around. Everybody else is on the plane now. The ambassador's got umbrellas over him. They're all watching. I need this. And we have a short window. this plane's got to leave soon. So I'm like yelling at these guys on the flight deck over there where these people were, I need a crowbar. I'm like, what? I'm going in this trunk. We're getting this trunk open. They had no idea who I am even. I mean, I'm just, the Italian soldiers that were, the drivers knew who I was, but nobody else did. And I'm talking to them in Italian and knew what I'm doing. So we're getting the crowbar and we're trying to get in. It's not working. And I seen a forklift over on the side. And I told the guy, one of these guys on the terminal there said, you can drive that forklift? And he's like, yeah, give me that forklift. He's, what are you doing? We're going through the trunk. We're getting this trunk open. And he's like, you are not. I said, yeah, I am. Get it. And so he was getting over, but he was it was a few yards from us when we managed to get the trunk open with the crowbar. And we trashed Mercedes. It was horrible. We got his, and they left. We pushed the cart away and they left. They were gone. They didn't care.
Yeah.
So go to the side, and then here I got the protocol officer walking up to me going, and mind you, somewhere in there I had managed to like cut my hand or arm or something. So it's raining, it's wet, it's bloody, because it's water. It wasn't bad. It just looked bad.
Yeah.
So I'm getting this protocol coming over, but, who are you? I'm like, oh, here it goes. This is bad. I'm Petty Officer Cooper with the motor pool. Oh, okay. I'm thinking, well, we don't all have cell phones in those days. You don't even have phones in your house. So I'm thinking, well, I need to talk to my Air Force colonel that I worked for. It was a major at the time. So Air Force major, my boss. So, I'm trying to send first thing Monday morning. This was like a Saturday night. First thing Monday morning, we're there early. And as soon as he walks in, I go, boss, this is what happened. Obviously there's going to be a problem. About 45 minutes later, he comes out and he's like, got your class A's? Which, of course, that's not what we call them. Not what we call them in the Navy, but we always had, yes, sir, yes. Get them on.
No.
We're going down to it was the 3 stars office.
Oh, yeah, good times.
Yeah, whatever he was, the chief of staff, whatever, the 3 star, he was the second in charge of the whole base. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. I'm like, well, it is what it is, so what could you do? So put your uniform on. We walk all the way down the hill and a massive steps, and we go into this office, and we're in the outer office, of course, and his aide is like, okay, well, we're waiting. Me and the major walk in, and he's like, okay, wait here for a minute. We're waiting on one more person. I'm like, what the hell are we waiting on, okay. So then walks this dude with cameras around his neck, a photographer. And I'm like, what? What? And we get called into the 3 stars office and literally got called to attention. And I'm getting a joint service, commendation medal. I'm like,
very nice.
What? I'm thinking I'm about to get fired.
Yeah.
And this guy's giving me a joint service commendation medal right there. I mean, this happened Saturday night and I'm getting this thing Monday morning.
Dang, that's really cool.
What? And he's like, yeah, obviously the ambassador said it had to happen and you made it happen. Didn't matter. I'm like, well, I'm telling him, well, the funny part, sir, is the 4 star's wife standing over there telling the protocol officer, the rent-a-car company's not going to be happy about this. And he's like, yeah, we heard about that. And I'm like, well, sir, that one Mercedes was the only one of those 17 cars that we actually own at the motor pool. That was her car.
Oh, wow.
That was the car that she normally gets transported in. So yeah, I destroyed our car, not one of the rent-a-car companies. He just thought that was funny as hell. She didn't even recognize her own car. Yeah. Nope. That was ours. But yeah. So yeah, it was kind of funny. I always tell people, they're like, what is that medal for? Oh, that's for destroying a Mercedes.
your Mercedes medal right there. I like it.
Yeah, they should have at least put, a little hood emblem in there or something. But no, that was I'm like, that was, but that taught me something. Coming back, as the more senior you get, you realize that, I don't know how they've done it. And a lot of the commands I went to, you do patrols, you do things. And then at the end of patrol, they all want to get together and say, hey, let's come up with an award package,
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, well, that's good in a way. But when that taught me, because what that meant to me at the time, getting it like that, I said, it's better off to do an award, even if I had to do the paperwork later. You tell the captain, we're going to give this person an achievement medal like today.
Yeah.
They've done this yesterday. And when it's fresh in everybody's mind, shows people that you really did. You're not just giving them one because it's part of a package.
Yeah.
That's what it really taught me. And I used that so much later on in life that that's what an award is supposed to be. Make somebody feel they really earned an award and they've done something and you actually recognized them. Not, well, I had to think about who do I give a medal to?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
who do I give a citation to or something? So
Yeah,
that was why that one meant more than the rest of them to me, because of how I got it and the way, and that 3-star was just a phenomenal guy. I mean, that's when I learned that, back in the day, I'm kind of scared of high ranking. Well, no, he's a great guy. Well, first of all, what reason would he have to not be a great guy to a junior sailor? I mean, if something's wrong, he's not going to take it out on me. So
True.
I'm going, he's got a chain of command too. He's going to take care of that. But he was just a great guy. That was General Thomas, 3-star Army General. I'm sure he made it 4, but that was General Thomas. I will never forget him. I've got a plaque in my house that has a little piece of what looks like a rock or a piece of broken up cement attached to it. It's just a tiny piece. And it says it's a piece of the wall that you helped bring down. So we were there when they brought down the wall in Germany. And
very cool.
He gave a few of us a piece of that rock with that plaque. So that was, So that was
really cool.
Yeah, I got a piece of the rock, and he says the piece of the wall you helped to bring down. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So
hey Doug, we're just over at the hour mark. So what I want to do is we're gonna end this one here, and then I'll start up and we'll do another one here shortly. But I'm gonna end this one real quick. To all the listeners, thanks for listening. Stay motivated, change your socks. To all the listeners out there, I want to thank you for joining us on today's podcast. As a reminder for all veterans, if you are struggling and need assistance in any way, please reach out for help. The VA has an incredible website and helplines to assist you in your time of need. Just go to the veteranscrisisline.net. That's the veteranscrisisline.net. There are several ways of reaching out for assistance through the VA. For a crisis emergency, just dial 988 and then press 1. Again, dial 988 and then press 1. You can also chat online by going to veteranscrisisline.net and clicking on the chat icon. You can also text for assistance at 838-255. Again, that's 838-255. All calls are confidential, and you only have to discuss what you feel comfortable discussing. If you are in need of help, don't hesitate to call. You matter to me and all of your veteran community. One veteran suicide is one too many. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget, there are new episodes of the Lost Art with Andrew Cox podcast daily, Monday through Friday. Stay motivated and change your socks.